Hello there, thank you for staying with us and welcome to another edition of Channels Beam. I'm Victor Matthias. Now today, May the 16th of every year has been observed as International Day of the Boy Child. Now this is a day dedicated for the whole world to focus on boys and their well-being. The goal is to achieve true gender equality in the world. Now with this year's theme focusing on boosting optimism and restoring self-worth, today on the program we will be looking at how creating awareness on issues such as peer pressure, socialization and social expectation amongst others can be done to help shape the boy child. And before we do all of that, let's first of all take a look at the trending topics in the past week.
Nigerians from both sides of the main religions practiced in the country have been airing their views and their outrage regarding the lynching, killing and burning of 20-year-old student Deborah Samuel, who is said to have blasphemed by asking her peers not to use an academic platform for religious discussions. This dastardly act has since been condemned by political and religious leaders, including the Sultan of Sokoto, the Christian Association of Nigeria, the Northern Governors Forum, amongst others. Nigerians, however, say the condemnations are not enough and would like to see the perpetrators pay for their heinous crime. While Nigerians are still living in the pain of the death of Deborah in Sokoto, 38-year-old sound engineer David Imo was lynched and burnt by a mob in the Oniru area of Lagos State. Multiple reports and videos on social media showed David being lynched by a mob till he became unconscious and was later burnt. The police say 4 suspects have been arrested, while a manhunt for the 5th is already underway.
Well, there you go. Tragic topics that trended in the past week, sadly. But you can be a part of the conversation from wherever you are watching the show. You can just tweet at us at Channels TV, at Channels Beam, at Victor_MBIDI. You can use the hashtag International Boy Day as well as Channels Beam. But we have joining us in the studio today to look at all of this, 2 boys who have become men now, actually. First of all, we have Dr. Sam Aimowe. He is a doctor of philosophy. He writes and trains on topics ranging from child education, parenting, retirement preparation, entrepreneurship, and personal development planning. We also have as well Solomon Ayodele. He is a development enthusiast, a global boy-child advocate, digital transformation enthusiast, and gender-based violence expert. So it's a pleasure to have you both on the show today. I heard you giggling when I said, 2 boys who are now men.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much a transition that, we all have to go through. And so over the years, a lot has happened, in terms of how the boy child has been raised, which pretty much shapes his thinking, his behavior, his conduct in the society. But, in your own perspective, kickstart the show for us, Solomon, in your own perspective, what do you think should change or what do you think should be done differently, based on the times that we're in?
All right, thank you so much, Victor, for having me today. I count it a very big privilege. I started Boy Scholars Africa about 4 years ago, and when we started, it was as though we're trying to either emasculate men or to start an anti-feminism movement. So I like the fact that we're beginning to have this conversation. So to answer that question, I think 2 things. Number 1, parenting. There's an assumption, and I call it a very witless idiom, that says boys will be boys. No, boys will never be boys. Boys will become what they are raised, what they are taught, what they are taught to become. So there is a need for us to now start deliberately parenting boys. So girls are taught how to teach, how to talk, how to walk, how to cook, how to treat their husband. But no one is teaching boys how to treat their wives. So we need to start from parenting. Then number 2 is perception. So there's a wrong assumption, I call it a gender box, where the world assumes boys will be fine. So people connect the masculine genital to wisdom. So by default, when you say a young boy and you say a young girl, you would assume, oh, this boy will be good, this boy will be smart, this boy will be fine. And in retrospect, data has also shown, with the work we've done at Boys Quarters, we have realized that a lot of these boys are in mess, right? We get calls from schools, calls from parents about the divergent issues some of these boys are encountering. So I would say parenting and the societal perception of boys. Yeah.
All right, now, pretty much, Doctor, what do you think? I mean, how do you think, or what do you think should be done differently, you know, looking at the times we're in?
Okay, thank you so much for the invite. I think historically we have what we called is a man's world. You know, everybody just go with that assumption that it's a man's world. And concepts such as feminism started cropping up, gender inequality started cropping up, and then the focus was on the female child. Focus was on the female child. Everybody is trying to now do the female, thinking, like you said, the boys will be fine. Yeah. Now, when you're trying to achieve balancing by focusing on those who were historically imbalanced, which are the female, now you left the male behind, thinking they will be fine. No, they won't be fine, because we are looking at balancing, like the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goal, number 15 is talking about gender equality, not female balancing, no, not raising the female. It's just to balance everything. So the guy, the girls should be balanced. For instance, you go to some schools that you have only guys. When you ask, you find out why is they are guys. They will cope. But when you go to ladies' school, girls' school, those things are fixed. You understand? But they feel the guys are strong. But what do we have now? We have guys who don't match up to be men because they feel they will be fine. So they won't be fine. So that's why in 2011, this initiative, in 2018, precisely, by Jerome, this initiative started. And it needs to be pursued. It needs to be, for today, how many organizations, how many schools even know that today is International Boys' Day? I can bet you it's less than 40%. So this had to be promoted, to know that every child matters. No child is left behind, being it a male or a female. So it should balance, and that balancing should also, and we should be careful in the event of promoting the International Day for boys, we should not forget that of the girls, because it's not a competition, it's just balancing and making the gender to balance, and the world will be a better place.
Yeah, so let me just pick up from what you said. When you started Boys Quarters, it was as if you were trying to start an anti-feminism movement. Yeah. So that's the thing, because the girl child, I mean, there's a lot of press and conversations and awareness on how what feminism is and what females are trying to push with feminism. Yeah. So again, he said it's not a competition.
Correct.
Yeah, and you talked about data. Yeah. If you could shed more light on the data that you found in terms of maybe boys lagging behind. Okay. Because when they talk about feminism or they talk about things that the girl child needs to do, they tell you the girl child lacks this, she lacks that. So what exactly are you looking at? What kind of data do you pick when you go to the field?
Okay, so just to set a premise, it's important for the world to understand that the conversation around the boy-child transformation is not a no-and conversation. It's a yes-and. So we're not saying women are not marginalized. We know, yes, right? We're not saying no. We're saying if we tilt this conversation to the extreme end, in the next 10, 15 years, we're going to have well-raised, well-groomed, mature, old, and amazing women who cannot find husbands. Not because there are no 30 or 40-year-old men, but there will be 65-year-old boys who didn't get the right training they should get to be mature, right? So I told someone in 2019, I stumbled on the data by Edu Celeb. It was extracted from the Federal Ministry of Education. And we realized that we had more out-of-school boys in Nigeria than out-of-school girls, right? And interestingly, whenever you want to have this conversation, I was speaking to a reporter in the United Kingdom, and I told the guy, I said, one of the ways you can fight terrorism in this country is not just trying to start IDP camps alone. We need to pay attention on educating boys, right? So in May 2019, we started a data gathering survey at Boys Quarters Africa. We wanted to find out the sexual abuse of boys before we started our flagship project called Boys 2. And we gathered about 2,000 men above 18 to ask them, when was the first time you had sexual encounter? And 97.9% of them told us that before the age of 18, they had sexual encounter, meaning they were abused before 18. But people don't realize that abuse is abuse irrespective of the gender. So a lot of men, grown-up men now, are walking time bombs, damaged men, because the world isn't paying attention to them. So there isn't even the democratization of the data and research around the boy child. So when you go online, you would find that you will see things about girls, things about women, which is right. Well, when it comes to research, when it comes to findings, when it comes to analysis about the problems of the boy child tribe, it isn't in the mainstream. So what we are trying to do at Boys Quarters is not just to, campaign or to become advocates. We want to also become that enterprise space where we can churn out data-driven information to the world, so that the world can realize that a bulk of the problems we're facing, if we pay attention to this boy child tribe, right, we would be able to make a difference. And let me quickly push this in, Victor. 2020 thereabouts, I got a call from our friends and partner at Connected Development, led by Amzad Lawa, right? And there was this project we started called Project Sabi, where we've been training men and boys on how to become allies towards ending gender-based violence. Interestingly, since I started this Boys Quarters thing, Connected Development was like the first organization that gave us a chance and listened to us and helped us get a grant for us to be able to mobilize 1,000 men and 1,000 boys in Lagos, Enugu, and Abuja, to raise them as allies towards ending gender-based violence. So there's a lot of work to be done as regards that space.
So I mean, gender-based violence was one of the places I was going to come to, but awesome. Before we get to that, Dr. Sam, I mean, you have done your research, you've authored a book, on parenting. What should parents be doing? Because, that's the first point of contact for any child, for any boy, for any girl. What should parents be doing? What should they be looking out for, or what should they be doing in terms of raising their children or their boys, to be the men and to be better in the society, pretty much?
Okay, a lot to respond to that. A lot need to be done. Focusing on parenting. Parenting is not just giving birth to a child and let the child just go out there. It's a serious business. So in terms of how the child grows up, the respect to the parents, the respect to, for instance, you have senior sisters before the last born a boy. Now, you teach the child how to respect your senior siblings, even the junior siblings, the culture of the house and how to take care of the opposite gender, how to go about your education, when you get to age, the social vices, and the parents should communication. That's the first thing. You have to communicate to the child, to the boy child, on things to come, on the pressure that will come, so that when you get there, you will be able to know that your parents once told you that this is good and this is bad. So to know that, like when I was in secondary school, for instance, we're in school to write the junior exam, the junior WAEC. And the principal of the school asked the ladies to stand up in class, because the numbers of them in school, in their own school, wasn't enough to form a center. So they have to join the guys. So at that class, it became a mixed class because of the junior WAEC you get. So the principal asked them to stand up and they should face the boys. And the principal told us that these are the set of female, the most ugliest, the ugliest that we're going to see in our world. He actually used the word most ugliest anyway. So he asked them to sit down, apologize to them, and explain why he had to do that. Because if we grow, if we pass that exam, we are going to be seeing beautiful and beautiful and beautiful ladies in our life. For instance, he did not explain it to us. We will take advantage and probably start beating them, start insulting them, because they're not in our school
at that point in time,
conventionally.
it's
just for exams. So the boy had to rise to the occasion, to be told what the society is expecting from him, what the society is, and how to put the society well.
I mean, I just looked at this advert that just rolled, from the Wale Soyinka, Center for Investigative Journalism, and I was thinking that, the role of being, that police, then growing up, every child was a child to every parent in the society.
True.
Things are kind of changing at this point in time. People might not want to speak up. Some would want to cover up, certain things, that happen that, so how do we change that narrative, actually?
Okay. Things have really changed in terms of these days, people communicate virtually more than the brick and mortar.
Yeah.
But the culture and the fact that we still give birth through the same way hasn't changed. We still live in a society where we depend on the sun, where we depend on individuals, where we know we love affections, where we know when we are hated, we know. So I think we should go back to the way things works for us during maybe the time of our parents, where everybody is responsible to the child, maybe in the society, in the church, in schools, like when your child is being reported to you that your child does not participate in school. How do you take such thing? Do you have to now go back to the school and withdraw the child from the school and say the school is not doing well? Or do you, in a home, tell the child that the school is, you use the F word at home? So the children are learning from you. So if the child needs to be corrected, the parents also need to learn how to be a good parent. So the parents had to learn how to be a proper parent, not a parent that does not have time for the children, not a social media parent. We need to know that it's a serious business to raise children, first of all, at home. Those children form the society form the entire world. So everyone should be responsible. For me, for instance, I talk to my children every day. It's very important because it's serious. I talk to them concerning their lesson. I talk to them concerning their waking up and every other. I even asked about if they had dreams or something. That's not to say I'm perfect, but communication has to be deliberate. You should not say the mother would do it. You shouldn't say they teach them in school. It's very serious that every man, every woman, every parent take parenting very serious by communicating. Anything you don't communicate is where the actually heels will set in, is where we go wrong. Yeah. So communicate everything.
So communication is
communication
pretty much key.
Is the key word. Communicate everything to the child.
So Solomon, again, like I was saying, every child back in the days was every parent's responsibility, in the society and to an extent, the school. But now there is this debate between who is responsible. Is it the parents or the school? I don't know how we can bridge that, how we can settle this debate, so to speak, now.
Well, it would be difficult to say it's exactly the parent or the school, right? But these kids, their first model is the parent. No doubt there is a gender assumption when it comes to raising boys. The kind of attention a typical mother will pay to a girl, when it comes to a boy, the mother will say, oh, it's fine. So I'll give you a practical example. When Ife in 2019, and this young boy, we started our flagship project called Boys to, where we teach boys about sexual education, which is, a lot of schools will tell us, oh, no, don't teach boys about sexual education, don't worry, they'll be fine. And this boy walked up to us and told us, said, oh, my lesson teacher would always touch my pee-pee. So I called the guy to say, come, let me understand what you're trying to say. And he said, oh, after school, that the mom is out, he would have to go to the teacher's house. And the guy said the teacher will make him sit on her, right? And the boy has been experiencing that for about 4 years. Then I said, okay, no problems. I'm going to take you home now. we are going to go have a conversation with your dad or your mom, right? And this boy started crying. And he said, no, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. And I asked, he said, why? I said, oh, no, because my daddy said, boys must be strong, boys will be fine and all of that. Real life story, right? Another example, I was on a radio program in 2020, and a 50-year-old man called me and he said that he was abused at the age of 16. He had kept that for 36 years, 34 years thereabout. And he said the reason why he has never spoken about it is because he grew up with this assumption that as a man, masculinity is synonymous to being strong. And it is wrong. So I think the first thing we must pay attention to is parenting. I have mentioned that it is whatever we do in our homes would extend to our schools, right? So I think it's primarily the responsibility of parents to begin to say, as a boy, they are not superhumans, they are not gods. Boys are normal humans too. Boys require the same attention, the same care, the same tutoring, the same raising, the same mentorship. In fact, statistics have shown that when a boy has an absent father, there's a possibility he turns out as a trans by default, because as a boy, one of the things you want to become is the things you see regularly. So you don't need to teach your boy to say, this is how you talk. When you see a fellow man, when a boy sees a man, he begins to talk like that man. But as a girl, you teach a girl to say, oh, you should dress this way, you should talk this way. But a boy sees by model, by observation. So it starts with parenting and even in schools. So interestingly, the projects we're running, I created a manual for teachers of boys where they know what to say to them, how to have conversations with them, and also created a book called Boy Fashions that teaches boys about sexual and gender-based violence, sexual abuse, about themselves, and how parents can have this conversation with them.
All right, so just as we wind down this conversation, I mean, you know, on this special day, I mean, I want you to make a commitment that I can hold you to, so that by the time we come back here next year, we're having this, you know, this celebration, you know, I can say, okay, what have you been able to do in terms of what you've made a commitment to? So, 15 seconds, make a commitment.
All right, so I've hosted International Boy Child Summit in the last 3 years. This year, again, we're going to be hosting 10,000 boys across 37 states, across cities across Africa. My commitment, again, is that we want to reach 10,000 boys to do 3 things: to empower, educate, and advocate for them. And we're hoping that we're able to bring to limelight this conversation around raising boys deliberately. This is what I'm committed to. I'm a banker, and I'm not doing this because I'm looking for money, I'm looking for recognition. This is my life. I want to transform the destiny of Africa through my voice and the power of technology. So, yeah, we're going to do this and make it happen.
I want to say, I hope that happens, and I wish you the best. Dr. Sam, what's your commitment?
Yeah, my commitment is, by grace of God, May 31st is my birthday. And before now, I've committed to visit Ransom Kuti Junior Grammar School, though it's not just boys' school, it's mixed school, to speak with the junior school, the junior secondary school, as a class or as a group, on the importance of education. Because education, you know, communication, like I said earlier, what you don't know is what you suffer from. So you need to be informed. You know, what is happening in the society now is just the wrong information that is being sent. So there should be a positive information as well to counter the negativity. The narrative out there. So I'm committed to spread the good news around schools on the importance of education in Nigeria. All right,
thank you very much. Of course, thank you to you, Dr. Sam. Thank you to you, Solomon, as well. 2 boys, 2 men who joined us on the show today to share their perspective on this. But that's where we are, and that's where we're going to leave you on the show today. But as always, we'll leave you with the movie videos on our YouTube channel in the past week. Thank you so very much for watching. I'm Victor Matthias. Bye for now.
The condemnation of the brutal killing of 20-year-old Deborah Samuel by an Islamic mob in Sokoto for alleged blasphemy kicks off this week's video in 5th place.
The desire of everyone to ensure that the perpetrators are quickly apprehended and prosecuted.
4th is the visit by presidential hopeful Bola Tinubu to the Kaduna State Governor in continuation of his consultation ahead of the party primaries.
You have been very, very consistent, Kaduna people. I believe you will follow me follow the man who knows the road. I have to do the job.
Third Sport sees Ebonyi State Governor saying it would be a world wonder if former President Goodluck Jonathan joins the APC, which ousted him from power in 2015. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar clearing the air on his deleted tweets condemning the killing of Deborah Samuel comes in second place.
Every tweet must have my express approval. I am not a person who is afraid to take stand on issues. You know the stand I took on Sharia.
While the first spot is taken by the meeting of President Muhammadu Buhari, which he held with members of his cabinet who resigned to pursue their political ambitions.